So, Point Reyes Station, historic town. And Toby's. Okay, we'll go in and see it.
All right, have a good day. And I found this over today that they can go already.
The what?
They can do, remember? The taxi that is in?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I found somebody already.
To the art gallery. And it's a big place. So, this is our exhibit. It's called 3 Generations of Livingston Artists. Ooh, what's this icky stuff? And this is the opening scene. A lot of glare there, but we have Joyce's beautiful painting of the barn. Sorry about the glare. My picture of Alicia in the 80s. It was a Spanish language columnist for the Point Reyes Light. And then here's Ben's, one of Ben's pieces, Earth Ghosts. And then a little bit here. This is Toby's feed barn. That's Chris on the left, who still runs it and owns it. And he's like 70 years old now. So a lot of these pictures are old. And the guest book has all sorts of good stuff in it. We'll take that. And then here's the 4th generation, which is Lupin. 4th generation of artists. So anyway, I'm going to just sort of give you you folks who couldn't make it a little overview of the exhibit, because it's coming down in a couple of days. So this wall and parts of other ones are by photographs, and you'll see as we go. Okay, so here's Nora at the, oops, I looked away, at the Black Rock Desert. I like that picture, but anyway, I just used that to fill up. Here's Beefy Red at the Fillmore up above, and then down below at a party. And these I took when I was in high school. And then the dude in the gas station, that's a nice portrait of with my Leica of this guy in 1971 or so at the gas station in Kentfield. There's John Whitelaw playing the bass. Mark Isham, who's now pretty famous, and Barry Finnerty, who went and played with Miles Davis later, and this guy. So what this is it's kind of an overview of work that I've done over the years, like I say. And so going back, this was when I was at Laney, taking pictures of actors in plays at the Laney Theater. This was a girl I knew who wanted me to take her picture, and I liked her hair in that one. And these were my friends in San Anselmo. I just like this because it's, I call it 4 Strong Women. Pretty cool. Here's my only nude. That was another roommate, an accidental double exposure. She wanted me to take pictures for her so she could become an artist's model, but it's pretty cool how it has this accidental double exposure in it. Okay, then onward. These pictures were mostly either taken with my Leica or with the 4x5 camera. And here's Art Rogers taking a picture of the babies. So he's the one who's the local documenter. But so it was fun to take a picture of him taking one of his pictures. Here's Kate Wolf, the folk singer before she died in Point Reyes Station doing a concert. Here's an artistic one Bill and I used to drive through the city and just take pictures out the window of the car. I kind of liked this one. And then here's a little kid, 4-year-old Clay Lucchese, at the Western Weekend Parade with his sheep. I thought that was cute. And then a lot of these are portraits, or actually kind of formal portraits. So here's like Jennifer, my sister-in-law, and her sisters, 2 of her sisters, and here's Marshall and his 4 sons. So that's the family bit. But I like this one of the girls with their trophies. I took it as a news photo back in the 80s. And this is Armando Quintero, who's now the head of California State Parks, but this was back when he was a ranger in the 80s at Point Reyes National Seashore. And he's been a friend for a long time. And here's the kids up at Donner Pass when we were heading to Montana. And I bought them little cameras to use. And here's Douglas Brooks, who was a friend who was rehabilitating the historic lifeboat out at Chimney Rock at the Coast Guard station. I helped him with that. And here's some portraits that have to do with the kids, and Molly and her friend Delaney on the left with the 4x5 camera, a nice portrait. I really like the focus in it. And these are kids in a play. Of course, there's Nora down in the front. Some kids at the Halloween fair. There's Gordon Onslow Ford, who was the last of the original surrealists, who bought property up on the ridge and lived out his life up here. And this was in his studio. Ernie Grandy showing the town where his family was from in Switzerland. He was born and raised in Point Reyes Station, and he lived next door. Here's Armin Trutman. We lived with the Trutmans for a few years out on the ranch in Olema. He was a great guy. And their family was always really important to us. And Fred Rodoni, on his 80th birthday, pitching a game of the local softball team. He had been a coach and player for all his life. That was pretty cool to come out on his 80th birthday. And this, I should call this black hat and white hat, but this is 2 ranchers that I knew, one in the Mojave Desert on the top when I was working out there on the ranches. His name's Tim Overson. He has since died, but showing off the gate in his barn made out of an old Coca-Cola sign. He's got the black hat, and then there's Armin Trutman again when we lived on his ranch with the white hat and his gate, which is a different kind made out of barbed wire. Here's Joe Horick on his last day at the local gas station. He'd been working there and owned it for decades. And this is one of my favorites. This is Colleen and Paul getting married on Shell Beach by Banana, the musician. Anyway, it's just really great the way they're all laughing and having a good time. And then these are some fairly random portraits. This is our friend Phil Buchanan. Phil Buchanan in Silver Lake. And here's Lupin on a rope swing. She still loves rope swings, and it's one of the main things we do. Here's Erica, our friend, when she was married. And Mike Witt, Dr. Witt, who he was my doctor for 30 years and now my friend. And I just snapped that picture when I was documenting his paintings. And then finally, here's the kids at Black Rock Desert, where we used to go before Burning Man messed it all up. And then here's a nice portrait of Carrie at the ranch. Okay, so now to Joyce's wall. This is some of the best stuff. And we just selected out a handful of her pastels. Those are among my favorites. So these we just took off our walls and have a little blurb that she wrote. This is crooked. And, but anyway, here's her. That was on a book cover. Sorry about the glass. And then the Pedernal in New Mexico. Kehoe Ranch out here at Point Reyes. The Estero. The Red Barn at Point Reyes National Seashore with eyes in the windows. The Black Heron. Nora has that. Another Estero view. And then this road view that I've always liked. Now then, Ben's stuff. This is really out of the ordinary, and I'll give you a little time to read this, because I think it's really great. I was lucky to be born into a creative family. My mom, dad, and sisters were, and continue to be, engaged in some form of art making, but it is my grandma Joyce whose art practice I feel I owe the most to. To visit her house was to step into a world of her creation, walls lined with her paintings, drawings, and collages, her assemblages of bones and feathers and other organic materials, spoke with a mythic natural language that fascinated me and continues to inform my creative practice to this day. So much of my work bears her influence, especially in my own assemblages collected here. 14 Earth Ghosts is a scanography series made to accompany an album of music bearing the same title, released last year. Each image illustrates a piece of music on the album. Both the music and art are meant as a requiem to the continuing loss and destruction of the non-human world by human extraction and greed, and the violence done to indigenous peoples around the world by colonialism and capitalism. I feel that it is always our duty to hold up a mirror and acknowledge our complicity in these destructions while listening deeply to nature and imagining a more just future for all beings. You can listen to the musical element of 14 Earth Ghosts at benlivingston.bandcamp.com. Anyway, these are, again, you know, we're going to have the glass making havoc of it, but he places natural objects on a scanner bed, leaves the top open, puts a box over it, and scans it. And makes these incredible black backgrounds with natural materials, and the lighting on them is quite amazing because it's lit by the scanner light. They're just amazingly great. So then we come to another wall. These are my scenic pictures. So back to me. This was taken with the 4x5 camera of the Sort of a typical scenic picture of an old barn, kind of ho-hum, but I really like that place, and it's all been torn down. That's where we lived at Trutman Ranch. And this is just last year at Mojave National Preserve when I was working, a place called Desert Spring. And this is my weird abstract of during the fires of 2020, the cherry pickers and the smoke. Here's a Death Valley sky. And cows going into the barn out of Point Reyes on the Spoletta Ranch. More Death Valley. And these rocks in the Mono Basin where Nora works. I kind of like this collection here. And this is Providence, a place I worked documenting the ruins of this old gold rush town, or desert gold rush, 1880s. Here's Lundy Canyon, beautiful. And then here's the meadow, a deer and some quirky light. Okay, and then we go to the maps. This is kind of the map area. Hi, I'm filming, but if you stick around, this little alcove is maps. So I'll just go through them kind of quickly. But this is a Mount Tamalpais trails that I did for Barry Spitz's book. And it's just like the old Harry Freese maps we used to use when we were teenagers to get around the mountain. And one of the Dipsy race for another book. One of the mountain railroad going up Mount Tam. White's Hill, the old railroad routes and everything going over. These were all done in the 80s. Just some interesting little old maps. These are the kids' birth announcements with the stork bringing the baby to the waiting family. Kind of funny. Maps for books. Wallace Bay. History, bird's eye views, just sort of a bunch of different scenes. Occasionally I did one for a family, how to get to their house, bird's eye view. And this is one I did for my father of Vancouver, where he was born, and it was depicted the year he was born, 1911, so it has all the old 1911 type stuff. And then this is out of the ordinary, but this is the three-dimensional map that I made of the Corte Madera Creek watershed, Ross Valley, Kentfield. So yeah, it's three-dimensional, and you can kind of, let's see if we could look at this. You can just fly up the valley. And over to Mount Tam, maybe even. But so it has little details from how it was in 1900. So it has very little development. The marshes are intact. The railroads are going through. That's pretty cool. And then this is the map of the famous repack race, mountain bike pioneers. I got a lot of requests to publish this map, so I've probably made $800 or so off of it. And then here's one I made for my brother when he had the bike shop in Point Reyes Bikes, back in the 80s, of where to ride your bike. So that's it. That's the exhibit. There's Carrie. Okay. See y'all later.